Hey there guys, welcome back, Maverick here with another episode of Yuukoku no Moriarty. Now, I do believe this is the penultimate episode, so 2 episodes left. Presumably they are going to finish up this particular arc here, right? Well, for one, I don't really think they're going to keep Sherlock in jail, which is what we saw at the end of the last episode, right? He killed a guy, maybe deservedly so, but he admitted to it, and now he's in jail, right? As for what particular reason, I don't really know, but supposedly that is going to be explained in this arc as well. I listened to some of the commentators' remarks, and I went back and looked at chapter 31 of the original manga. I typically don't do this, but a lot of you guys have been saying that they cut out a lot of important parts from the manga, so I figured that, alright, fine, I'll take a look and just quickly see if there's anything relevant. Now, personally, I didn't really find anything to be of that relevance, so maybe we'll have to see in this episode here, right? I will have to say, though, that much to my expectations, indeed, a lot of people are shipping Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes. And, I mean, I'm not surprised, right? They are both ikemen, and this definitely seems like a work where a lot of fujoshi would love. A lot of female otakus would love as well. So, I mean, hey, no hate here. You gotta do what you gotta do, right? In any case, let's get into the episode right now. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Alright. Actually, I might have to change. Alright. I'm gonna, like, change around my recording things. My second monitor is having trouble right now. What? Am I actually watching? Okay. The situation has changed. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they're gonna have. He wants to be cornered? He doesn't want to. The final problem? I seem to recall that one of the titles of the short stories for Sherlock Holmes is The Final Solution, right? Or is it actually called The Final Problem? I can't remember. The Final Something. And it dealt directly with Moriarty and Sherlock, right? The end of that particular story. Which is quite funny if you think about it. You know, in the original Sherlock Holmes stories, Moriarty was there for just, like, one of the stories there, right? And considering how many novels that Sherlock Holmes has, Moriarty is only featured in one of them. But still, I mean, technically in the original, these, I guess, yeah, I mean, it does kind of make sense that Moriarty is Sherlock's mortal enemy. Because he was the one who actually brought Sherlock to the brink of death. I mean, if I remember correctly, Sherlock technically did die in his final confrontation with Moriarty. But later on, due to public pressure, the author, right, Sir Doyle, brought him back. Brought Sherlock back. Can't keep him down. And basically like, haha! That was an act all along. Yeah, it's probably called the final problem. Never mind. I probably misremembered. Oh. Hmm? I mean, he could still be. Does that actually work? Alright. I mean, he doesn't need to reflect on that. It's already happened. It's going to be reflected for the rest of his life already. Mm-hmm. I don't quite get what he's trying to do here. I do have to wonder though, if we do follow all this, and then at the very end here, Moriarty, or William, is killed, right? You know, going full circle with the story of Sherlock Holmes. Does that mean that the actual manga series has ended as well? Make sure I'm recording. Yeah, I think this might be the first time we actually see him smoking. This seems more like a Sherlock move. Mm-hmm. But obviously his death will have to accomplish something, right? Ooh, Sherlock. Mm-hmm. So, are they okay with him being present for the rest of his life? Is he gonna say something like, hate me with all your heart, or whatever? Yeah, I get it. Sherlock, right? Alright, so he's putting everything together here. With a lot of help, Sherlock. Like, honestly, well, actually, at the end of last episode, I think he kind of sorta figured it out by himself. That so over dramatic. Well, I guess in the original Sherlock Holmes stories, he was known to be such an amazing detective that, the royalty also called on him as well. This is probably the most sincere apology we've seen Sherlock do. And now of all times, eh? I mean, this was the inevitable conclusion, but in a lot of ways, I feel like this is just. I don't know. Was this actually rushed, or did this resolution take a lot more time? So basically, well, still follow what William wants to do, but in the end, he still has to be a martyr for the cause. Hmm. Of course, these two. I, um, okay. Well, that was a whole lot of poshing around. I'm not. There might be a little bit more at the end. If there is, I'll see you guys again. If not, well, just see you guys after all of this. Okay, so there is a little bit more after this. Let's watch this in 3, 2, 1, play. I guess this is Sherlock's violin. Oh, really? Okay. What is actually... Well, see you guys after this. Well, okay, so, this is the last arc, right? And they are going to be bringing a thing to a close at the end of the next episode. I mentioned at the beginning that this manga is still in serialization. I believe it's currently up to volume 14 in Japanese as of this point. So, they're not gonna end just on this arc, even though it is called the final problem or whatnot. And by the way, it is the final problem. That is the original story title of the Sherlock Holmes stories. But then again, you know, it was only kind of a supposed stopping point, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. It was supposed to be on this episode, on this story that Sherlock and Moriarty fought to their deaths, and you know, both died, and the entire Sherlock series would end, right? But due to public opinion and public pressure and whatnot, Sherlock was brought back, and so he continues on and to be the star of some stories in the future, even after this. So what I'm assuming is going to happen here is that they are both, well, Moriarty obviously needs to die in the public eyes, right? Now, whether or not, and potentially it could be a case where they both die in the eyes of the public, but still secretly survived, right? Both of them. And then they just go down under or something of that sort. Though, the thing about this, though, is what I'm thinking is, how exactly are they going to continue their adventures if they're not called the Moriartys anymore, right? I mean, it's literally called, like, the Patriot, Moriarty the Patriot, right? I mean, if they all go into, like, hiding, or they change their names and whatnot, and then live life like that, is that really the same as the story? Or maybe they can pull some sort of like a Bond, right? Sort of like the Irene here, and completely change and make references to some popular other spy or assassination organizations in pop culture, right? I guess that is also a route here, but yeah, no clue exactly how they are going to end this. But since Sherlock is so adamant in saying that he is going to save William's life, I do have to believe that that's probably what's going to happen at the very end here, right? No matter like how it looks in public, in private, perhaps most probably William will survive on. And I honestly, with the way that the anime has been going, it doesn't really give me the vibe that William will be killed off. So we'll have to see about that. And honestly, even though I did go and read chapter 31 first, I don't really see the relation with this final arc here. I mean, I guess you could say that, you know, the relationship between William and Sherlock goes deep and so on and so forth, the admiration they have for each other, but I don't think I needed that chapter to notice that. I guess another thing is potentially maybe to explain why William feels he needs to die, but, honestly, I feel like that was his plan all along, even from the beginning, right? If you guys recall, at the very beginning of this series, I actually mentioned something where I talked about the hypocrisy of the Moriartys in a way, especially since, you know, they basically killed their parents in a way, or foster parents or whatnot, brothers, right? They burned the whole mansion down and so on and so forth in order to gain their current identities, right? And doing all the other things that they did around, I mean, you could argue that they are deserving of it or not, but at the end of the day, they are still vigilantes and going around and killing people, right? So, I mean, there was always this sort of moral issue here that existed, and you know, I was curious, right? Because certainly they could have especially in this case where the Moriartys are supposed to be the protagonists of the series, I definitely didn't see this as a case where they would be completely oblivious to the moral hypocrisy and continue going on with themselves being completely unaffected, right? And especially since we know that this is still drawing a reference from the actual Sherlock Holmes stories, it seemed inevitable that the Moriartys would eventually gain this sort of crime, right? Tarnish their reputation and whatnot, and would end up as bad guys go down as bad guys in history, right? So that assumption was always there. So I figured something of this sort was bound to happen at a time and place, and yeah, so to me, it wasn't really a surprise at all that Moriarty did feel that he had to be a martyr at the very end here. I feel like, especially the Whiteley case, right? That, if anything else, that tells us all we need to know about how the death of a person can help transform a movement, a revolution in a sort of ways. And I feel like it would be exactly like Moriarty to pull something like that at the very end here. Finally, you know, drive the wheels of the country to go towards the direction he wants, but dying himself in the process, or you could say that his death is required for this in some sort of way, right? So like I said, you know, whether or not he actually dies, that's one thing, but obviously he needs to, in at least in public perception, he needs to go down. The Moriartys need to go down. And so that is basically it. Now, the fun thing here is, definitely Sherlock's involvement in all this, right? And there's 2 points here. Now, one point is actually the audience that he had with the Queen of England, right? And it seems, judging from the later conversation, the later dialogue between Mycroft and Sherlock, I do believe that Sherlock Holmes probably came to some understanding with the throne that, and probably the throne, right, the queen also agreed that there is a problem with this country and it needs to be fixed, right? So I think what Sherlock has proposed there is most probably something that, you know, aligns with the interests of all involved. Probably the queen herself also wants to rid the country of these, you know, of the rotting nobles and so on and so forth. And so I can totally see this as a way for Sherlock to intervene and, you know, still allow Moriarty to accomplish all he needs to accomplish, but still having to pay for his crimes at the very end here, right? Now, I guess one other thing from the conviction from the manga and whatnot is that both Sherlock and Moriarty both believe that, you know, there needs to be punishment for the crimes, right? It's okay if you want to do it. You say you have a noble cause and so on and so forth. That's fine and all, but at the end of the day, you still need to pay for your crimes. So that's why Sherlock so willingly gave him up to the to the police after killing Milverton, right? Even though, you know, that entire spiel there, I mean, sure, whatever. We gotta get him out of jail somehow, so he can catch Moriarty, right? And so I do wonder, at the very end, though, the Moriarty still probably should be in jail, or maybe they're going to try to frame it in some other kind of way, like forever in exile, or something of that sort. But then again, how exactly will that fit in with the story continue on? That, now that I think about that, that probably doesn't really work there. But hey, it is a thought, right? The other thing would definitely be the Moriarty and Sherlock going face to face at the very end of this episode, right? Definitely bizarre in a lot of ways. And in fact, this still doesn't really answer to me, you know, why exactly Sherlock was so willing to kill Milverton at the end of last episode, and then so willingly turn himself in, right? Especially paired with what he said at the beginning of this episode, where, you know, yeah, I know, because I'm arrested here, I'm gonna have to serve out my sentence, I'm gonna have to go on trial, I'm not going to be able to go catch the Lord of Crime, right? I don't know. Did he willingly do that because that would prolong the chase, right? Because he doesn't really want to go and arrest Moriarty? Is that the reason, part of the reason why he did that? Or did it also, you know, was it completely within his calculation that, hey, the royalty here, or the entirety of England probably doesn't really have a way to catch Moriarty. They're gonna have to turn to Sherlock sooner or later, right? Maybe he calculated all that out, maybe not. I do feel like the moralities, right? How they choose to bend their, you know, what exactly they stand for, and how much they're willing to give ground to what they believe in. That's still not made entirely clear throughout all this. So it's still kind of hard for me to get a read on, you know, what will happen at the very end here, right? Certainly, I guess Sherlock could be like, you know, he's stubborn in the fact that he wants to save William, but William could equally be very stubborn in the fact that he wants to die, right? So we could have another kind of clash there. You know, is William actually going to be persuaded by Sherlock that his death is not necessary, right? I mean, maybe not. But, like I said, I don't really see this, I don't really get the vibe of this anime going towards a direction where William dies, so at this point in time, I'll have to make my prediction and say he's probably not gonna die at the very end here. Or, I guess they could actually pull the exact same kind of thing with the original short story and leave the ending of at least the anime ambiguous, right? And then, so, potentially, maybe if there's something in the future, we'll have to see about that. So, there we go, kind of convoluted and all, but hopefully I did get my point across and so on. So, I will see you guys in the grand finale for the next episode. See you guys next week, and bye-bye.